Good evening, everyone. Welcome to SAFC Fan TV Live, and it's Thursday Night Live. And tonight I'm joined by Jack. How's it going, Jack?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. A little bit better than I was last week. So pleased to shook that off. And as always, looking forward to another hour of talking about my favourite thing, Sunderland AFC.
Very nice, Jacob. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not felt the best the past couple of days. Just recovered from a little bit of a cough I've had over the weekend. Wasn't at West Brom, unfortunately, but it was nice for us to pick up another win and eventually mathematically confirm our safety this season. I think it was from that win at the weekend. But yeah, it will be nice to talk about it in depth on tonight's show, mate.
Definitely. Jack, are you being our comments guy for the evening?
Yes, of course. So, Paul Armstrong's first on, he's saying hello. Mickey Mack, evening chaps, hope you're all okay. Ryan McCormack is on. He says, all right, lads, how are the lads? And Edward Young says hello, everybody. So don't forget, if you're watching, drop your comments in. If there's any talking points, anything you want to discuss, please pop in and say hello. And obviously hit the like button as well. We always try and get 100 likes. So yeah, anybody that's watching and you're liking the content, give us a like.
Excellent. So, West Brom, we'll start with that, obviously. We beat 10-man West Brom. That's what that headline always says, doesn't it? It doesn't matter when they got sent off, but we beat 10-man West Brom 1-0, moves up to 13th position. It seems like a run of games too little too late. But Jack, the first half was pretty flat. It started out, but all the action was actually in the first half. Was it a straight red card? What did you think?
Well, first things first, we discussed last week, didn't we? Would we keep the same tactic, the same shape, or would we go to 4-2-3-1? And he kept it the same. I was advocating being a little bit more attacking, but I can see he's thinking, West Brom are a decent team. They're in good form. They're away from home. They're chasing the playoffs. I thought first 15 or 20 minutes, to be fair, I was disappointed by how poor West Brom were. I thought they would have come flying out the traps. I thought we looked quite comfortable. We started to look settled, get on the ball. I noticed about 20-25 minutes, though, they did start and put it together a little bit. And then as we're getting towards half-time, obviously the two key incidents, their striker decides to make it a lot easier for us. What do I think it was a straight red? I think the second one on Ballard was. I think the one where he's got in studs up on Ballard was a dreadful tackle.
I know it was a second yellow that sent him off, but it looked like a straight red to me.
I would agree, Mike. Yeah, I thought it was high, it was late. I'm sure we'll probably come on to Dan Ballard later on because he was a key figure for the game, wasn't he? But first one yellow, second one could have been a straight red. But luckily, it was within a couple of minutes of each other, and the referee didn't bottle it, because sometimes you see referees that don't give that sort of thing. They don't want to make a big decision, but he made the big decision. And then we were thinking, right, we've got the whole of the second half to capitalise on it, and it didn't even take us that long. Within 2 or 3 minutes, Pierre Ekwa scores. And then afterwards, second half, and we'll touch on it in a second, but I was really comfortable. I didn't think they were ever threatened, but it was good timing, shall we say, Mike, to get the red card and the goal just before half-time was perfect timing for us.
How did you feel about the first half, Jacob? Were you as comfortable as Jack, or were you falling asleep as I was for some of it?
I was actually shocked at how poor I thought West Brom were. I thought they didn't look like a side that were looking to keep their place in the top six and go for promote. I thought they were pretty ordinary, to be honest. I thought they would have come out all guns blazing, but even though I think we weren't that great in the first 45 minutes, I thought they very rarely looked like they were going to threaten Pato at all in our goal. I know that we were not great in terms of our creativity. We needed that sending off to, wake us up a little bit, which obviously we took advantage of. But West Brom, I thought we'd done well to contain them, to be honest. I can understand now why we set up sort of the same in regards to tactics of how we set up against Leeds. But yeah, we done well to contain them. They had a brief 5 to 10 minute period, but other than that, we pretty much controlled the game, to be honest with you. Even when it was 11v11, I didn't see them as much of a threat, to be honest. And it was because I thought it was because my stream went down and missed both the sending off and the goal, which was frustrating. I thought it was a straight red card originally for Asante, but until I actually watched the highlights back, it was 2 yellows. I thought it was the first challenge, which was on Clark. I thought the ref had changed his mind and then brought out a red. But yeah, when I watched the second challenge on Ballard, we'll come on to that. Little bit of heated rivalry West Brom fans have regarding Ballard with the whole Madrid incident a little bit later. But yeah, correct decision. I don't know what Asante was doing, to be honest. Lost his cool when you're at that, and that really could cost that result. You'll look back on it and think, you silly boy, you know, a potential place for them in the top 6, you know, with the way how things are going, you know, that there's a chance that teams below them could catch them. And, you know, if he's suspended for their last few games of the season, their manager Carval will be thinking, you know, you've allowed this sort of revenge that on their players, the way how they've put it, to dictate how we're going to play out the rest of the season. And we clearly got into their heads, and it worked from our point of view, and we took advantage of that in the second half, because we could have. I'm disappointed we really only got 1, to be honest, because I thought it should have been at least 2 or 3 with the chances and the room on the ball we had.
Do you feel it was like slightly revenge motivated? I mean, if you look at the replay, it looks like he just miscontrols it and it loops over, and he's just like, oh, that's gone too far, and he's lunging for the ball. So how do you read that? Do you think there's some malicious intent in there, Jacob?
Considering he knew himself he was on a yellow. And for me, come on, like when you're one of the key men in that side, you know, where the goals are going to come from as well. The fact you're already booked right on half time as well. So it could have been left in the second half when the game was a little bit more intense, you know, risks had to be made, but right on half time to make such a stupid decision like that, revenge as far as I'm concerned.
You feel the same with that one, Jack? Do you think it's revenge because you remember the tackle on Marja from Ballard the first time round? Do you think it's something to do with that?
Yeah, I'll just go to the chat first, Mike, and then I'll answer. Yeah. So where was I before? Emma Hansen, David Edwards says, evening lads. Our very own friend of the show says, evening lads. Brian Scotia Mackham says he's missed us the last couple of weeks. Well, we're here for you now, Brian, don't worry. Very own Conrad Lee also says, evening. One half of the Nesbitt brothers is in. A very good evening, chaps. It's John. Mad Mackham, evening all. Paggard says, evening, chaps, from a chilly Canada. And James Ramsey says, evening, lads. So, yeah, I'm not sure where this whole frenzy came from, because I remember Ballard putting in a bit of a bad tackle and Madja having to go off in December. But they've obviously harboured this, West Brom, haven't they, for the last sort of 3 or 4 months. They've harboured this grudge. And it did look like, to me, a lot of the West Brom players were going out to try and give Ballard some stick back. I noticed it wasn't Asante wasn't the only one. There's 2 or 3 of them left sort of the foot in a little bit. Which, as Jacob says, is stupid when an experienced player like that for them does that when he's on a yellow. I think he might have took a chance and thought, oh, he's just booked me. He's not going to send me off at home. Well, he did send him off. He got the decision absolutely spot on. So I think there was definitely a few of those West Brom players that were deliberately trying to maybe not injure Ballard, but certainly hurt him for the revenge tackle. But I don't think the tackle in December on Madja was that bad of a tackle. I mean, it was a bad tackle, don't get us wrong, but I don't think it was malicious like the ones that they were given to Ballard last week. I just think it was a little bit late in the way that Madja landed was unfortunate. So why they've whipped this frenzy up about Dan Ballard, I don't know, but it actually helped because I thought he had one of his best games in a Sunderland shirt. He looked assured on the ball. The striker's got nothing out of him. So yeah, maybe opposition fans just need to boo Dan Ballard every week, and we'll keep a clean sheet every week. And next season we're going to be top of the table. That's what we need. But yeah, I definitely thought a few of the tackles were a bit rough, and I do think he was being targeted. The fans are obviously booing him. I think the players were playing up there a little bit. So, but it harmed West Brom, didn't it? Because they went down to 10 men and they didn't lay a glove on us for the rest of the game. So yeah, more fool them.
Yeah, I remember the tackle with Ballard. It was a bit. I think Phillips described it as a pundit report as reckless and naughty at the time, which is an interesting way to describe it. The goal
he did play for West Brom, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, yeah. The goal then. So Ekwa, I mean, it was a brilliant goal. It was a reactionary goal. It was a set piece. We scored from a set piece. There's got to be cause for celebration.
First man.
Yes. What do you think?
I don't remember how many times did Pritchard hit the first man when he in his latter stages with us.
Yeah. So it was Styles taking that corner, right, at the time. So what do you think of the set piece? Do you think we've actually improved there? Was it just lucky to get through there, or is it look like we're something we're working on in the training ground?
Jack, do you want to go first?
Yeah, did somebody get a block on somebody or something? Because it looked like Echo was suddenly free all of a sudden right in the middle of the box. But I don't know whether Ballard got a nick on it or not. It looked to me like there was a very, very faint touch from the top of Ballard's head, which directed it in towards Echo. But I'm sure there was something going on because Echo was all on his own, and you're not usually in a penalty area from a corner. I mean, normally the defenders are touch tight. They're ripping your shirt off. They're pulling you down. They're grappling. So Echo was seemed to be free all of a sudden. So he managed to manoeuvre it. So it was a very well taken, very well organised, corner. But how well did he take it? I mean, in all in one movement, he managed to get the right angle, not overhit it, and catch it so sweetly that it sort of just left his boot and then went in the top corner. It was a brilliant finish. I mean, let's not make any mistake. If someone like Jack Clark had scored, it would be saying, what a goal. So he's had his critics, Echo, but he's done well in the last couple of games, and that goal was really, really well taken. So, yeah, it looked like it had been planned, and, it was a very, very well taken goal.
Yeah, it was definitely sweetly kicked. There was plenty of power on it as well for such control. What did you think of the goal there, Jacob?
Yeah, very, very good finish. Watching it back, you just thought that Ekwa may have put a little bit too much on it. He thought it was just going to go over the top of the bar. But when it hit the back of the net, it was a sigh of relief, really, because Ekwa thought for the performance he put in, particularly in that first half, he warranted a goal, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right place, right time, unmarked in the box. It was poor marking from West Brom, but he took advantage of that. And it was actually, watching it back, a decent flick from Ballard as well to find him in the box. But it was a first-time volley. I think he was surprised himself that it landed in the net. I think the way how he hit it, he probably thought he'd scuffed it. He may have been wanting to take a touch, then hit it. But yeah, luck was on his side this time. And when Ekwa does strike them, he has got a ferocious shot on him. And it's frustrating he's not in more positions on the pitch for him to do that a lot more, because he has got a wand of a left foot, and that is something next season we need to look at, of him moving further up the pitch. We've discussed this on the channel before, but yeah, brilliant finish from Pierre. Great strike, and yeah, one of the standout players from that win on Saturday.
Yeah, so we go in half-time 1-0 up, and we're Sunderland fans and we're realists, and we know that's never a one game, one man up and one goal up. It could be anything in the second half. But I don't know about you guys. I'll come to you first, Jack. But me and Conrad did the commentary for this one, and we found ourselves talking about designing new merchandise with Retro Hub and stuff and all sorts of Retro 3 or whatever they're called, and all sorts, because it just seemed like it was not much happening. I mean, in the game, there was 3 shots on target from both teams in 90 minutes. Did you think they should have gone for it more?
Yeah, it wasn't a classic, was it? But you take that any day of the week. When you're 1-0 away from home, you don't want an exciting game. You don't want a game full of chances, do you? You're in a great position in the game. You've got a goal up and a man up, as you say. You just want to make sure it's under control. And I did think we were, you know what I mean? I did think we had it under control. If it was a 1-0, but we were under the cosh, then I would say, yeah, we definitely needed another goal. That was the only slight, thing. Could we go and get a second goal? Could we be a bit more attacking? But I don't think we ever really needed to. Do you know what I mean? Because I think the game was under so much control, and West Brom weren't playing that well. They were flat, and I even thought the West Brom crowd were flat. I mean, there was just a really boring, sort of dull atmosphere from the home end. Other than when Ballard got the ball, the only noise that they made was to boo Ballard, and I just felt like we had it under control. So normally I'd be saying, yeah, go forward, get a second, get a third, make it more comfortable. But it's never 100% safe. But I never really felt like they were going to threaten us. So yeah, I think 1-0 was enough, and it was a comfortable away performance.
Jacob?
Yeah, completely agree with what Jack said there regarding the atmosphere. But I was going to ask it, were you surprised, particularly second half, when the game was more opened up? They were down to 10 men. Jack Clark was tiring a little bit. I know he offers, when he's on his game, he offers pace, but you can sort of tell in his game he's still coming back from the bad injury he had. Were you surprised he didn't bring on Mundle? Because I thought that would have opened the game up so much more.
Yes, yeah, I'm a massive fan of Mundle, and I think he's not had enough starts. So I was shocked that he didn't come on as a shooting opportunity.
Yeah, I'll probably be inclined to agree. We haven't seen that much from him, and what we have seen in bursts has been pretty good. He looks very raw, as a lot of our squad do. You can see he's young, his decision-making needs to be improved. But there might be something there with him, you know what I mean? That there might be, he's definitely got pace, and he's definitely willing to attack, as some of our other players in attacking positions aren't. So it would have been interesting to see what he would have done against, possibly a tiring West Brom team and 10 men. But, I mean, he only brought Barn in the last minute as well. Do you know what I mean? I would have thought that possibly Abdullah Bar could have come on, in that scenario. What has he got to lose? As you say, bringing attacking players on, attacking a tired defence. And I think he only brought him on with a couple of minutes to go, taking Clark off. So I'll just go on to the chat while I'm talking, though. So Mad Mackham says, West Brom are looking poor. It just shows what a weak league this is. It makes it harder to handle how bad we are doing. Well, yeah, West Brom were poor on Saturday. I think they're a pretty good side overall, though. I slightly disagree with what Mad Mackham says, but they have been pretty poor against us the twice they've played us. My favourite name on here, Beanburger Man. All right, lads. I think it was totally a revenge lunge. They all seemed to want to hurt him and O'Nien. John Nesbitt says he predicted a 3-0. It should have been a 3-0. Not to worry, though. It was a classy finish from Young Ekwa. L12 Bong says formation is working for SAFC and Dodds. Be interesting to see if we're going to do that on Saturday, though, because it's easy when you've got a more attacking team and you're going to be under the cosh a little bit. But I don't think we'll be playing that defensively against Millwall on Saturday. We'll come on to that in a minute. And Beanburger Man says, if Bale had stayed and he got these sorts of levels of performance and results, would you have given him allowance for another season? I don't think he was getting this level of performance, to be fair. I think the wins that we got were sort of scraped wins, so I probably wouldn't have.
Yeah, Beanburger Man, put a pound in the pot. The B word is banned in this chat. Jacob, you wanted in there?
Yeah, but I mean, we have to take into account also that, we played against a side at the weekend who hadn't lost the game since February as well. And we were I touched on, I thought they would have been more of a threat at least, particularly from, bigging up the atmosphere, that being inflicted onto the players. And it didn't feel like they were a side that were fighting for a playoff place. It really didn't. It just felt like an end of season game where the flip flops were out, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. It looked like they'd give up 70 minutes in at least or something like that, but it was just played for time after that. They made 5 changes, which you expect when a team gets a red card. But were you surprised not to see Villa come on, Jacob?
A little bit. Then again, I haven't really watched West Brom recently. I mean, there must have been a fair excuse from their manager, Carvajal, to leave him on the bench for a game. I mean, I think when they got him, I think he has made a couple of starts, so he must have been doing something right. But for him to be left out, I don't know what he's been playing like in his most recent performances. I mean, if somehow there's a West Brom fan watching tonight, they'll be able to potentially come up with a reason why he was left out. But yeah, I thought he would have at least made some sort of, whether, I don't know, the occasion may have got to his head a little bit, which is why Carvajal decided to leave him out for a game like that. But I think the occasion got to all of the West Brom players' heads, to be honest, with the whole Ballard thing. So yeah, we don't know.
Jack, were you surprised not to see him come on the pitch?
I don't know. I'm not really sure how many times he's been playing for West Brom this season. I think if being 1-0 up and they need somebody to protect the game and protect the back four a little bit, if we were coming forward, then you might have seen him. But when they were chasing the game, I'm not really sure that Mvilla's is he that much of an attacking player? He's more central, sort of defensive minded, isn't he, in his physique and athleticism? So I don't think it was his type of game. I think if they were protecting a lead, then he might have come back on. But when you want somebody to chase the game, their managers obviously looked at it and thought, I've got more attacking options. You know, we need to try and be a bit more proactive in terms of going for a goal. One talking point that I do want to mention, though, Mike, David Brown's mentioned it, how well Callum Styles played. I thought he was much improved. Yeah, he's been a bit iffy, hasn't he? You know, at times this season since we've had him since January. But I thought it was his best performance for us, and we actually moved him forward. And he got involved in a few attacks, didn't he? I think he was unlucky to score at one point when he just shot around the post.
We made a point on the commentary that he seemed to have quite a free role. Is this to do with this formation? Because to be honest, I can't see us ever playing. We've never played badly when we played the 5 at the back because it frees up them 2 to go forward, like Pembele and Styles. And we saw him all over the pitch. He was literally all over the pitch. And is that because of that formation? What do you think of that, Jacob? Yeah,
I agree. But also, like, since we've signed him, have we really seen him play in the position that he probably wants to play in? From where he was playing. I mean, I don't know what he was like in his last few months where he was playing at Barnsley in terms of his position on the pitch. But for me, you know, if you watch his performance at the weekend, you know, he did start the game at left back, but at times he was coming inside more, you know, receiving the ball from deep and, you know, driving at their midfield a little bit, looking for forward passes. And if he plays in that role a lot more, for me, there's a tidy player in there for that division. You know, I do think there's more to his game that beats the eye. I think if we have him at left back constantly or try to just play him on the left-hand side for the foreseeable future, you're not going to get most. I mean, for me, he's not got the pace to do that role anyway. The Blackburn game exposed that, to be honest, in which even though for any player who's not got the best of pace in general, you know, that performance was inexcusable. But if he's going to start games, you know, play him as sort of like a holding midfielder, but with the advances to go forward as well, sort of like a box-to-box midfielder as well.
Yeah, he definitely looks like he's coming good, as was mentioned in the comments. Do you want to lastly touch on the comments, Jack, that's come through about this before we move off the West Brom game, just in case there's anything relevant?
Yeah, I would just agree with what's been said about Styles. He was much improved, and I think the extra defender in centre back as well, playing 3 centre halves rather than 2, it gives him that little bit of cover because you've got, you know, if he does lose the ball or he does come forward and he's out of position, it means you have got the extra man at the back. And I think sometimes, as good as Jack Clarke is going forward, if he's playing left wing and Styles is playing left back, he's not going to give you that much protection. So it's going to emphasise, you know, that he is going to be overexposed sometimes. And as Jacob's touched on, he's not the quickest or most physical of defenders, but he's been much better. And to get forward and get involved, I mean, you can argue that's because they only had 10 men, but it did show that he has at least got the confidence to come forward and play on the ball a little bit. So yeah, it showed another side of his game that probably we might not have been aware that was there. I'll just mention a few on the chat. So Paul Armstrong also agrees. He says he played very well. L12 Bong says Beanberger touches on a good point. Seems to have been a revenge tactic against Ballard. Yeah, I think we all agree with that, to be fair. Casual Observer says Deputy Dodds is new tactical masterclass of sticking 10 men behind the ball and going for rip-roaring 0-0 draws. Well, I think, you know, we did that against Leeds, and we managed it against West Brom. Four away points. I think every Sunderland fan would have snapped your hand off for 4 away points last week. So, if it's a tactical masterclass, it's working. And John Nesbitt says, if it's good enough for Real Madrid to defend for your lives, it's good enough for me. Well, we can only dream of being on Real Madrid's level, although we do have a Bellingham in our team. So.
Right, we're about to move on. Jacob, did you want one more point on the game?
I'm glad that Jack mentioned Jack Clarke there, because what did you think of his performance overall? I personally, for me, I mean, it might sound controversial, I didn't think he was that great, to be honest. I know it's a case of, you know, he's still slowly coming back from the bad injury he had, but I think potentially, you know, the thought of him moving away for a big move in the summer, I think, is getting to his head a little bit. I think he's feeling under pressure to perform so well in these last few games for the big move that most likely he's going to get. But I know it's a separate debate of how much we're going to get for him and where he's going to go to. But yeah, I thought even in the second half when the game opened up a little bit, I know he had more time on the ball. He did beat a few West Brom players, but his decision making overall, I thought was, yeah, there was a moment where I think he got to the byline. He had the opportunity to square it, but I think he went for it himself. It hit the side netting. First half, he tried to make some crossfield passes that went out for a throw goal kick, but yeah, I just felt he played with a little bit of nerves on his shoulders for me. I don't know whether you agree with me.
Yeah. What do you think of that, Jack?
I'm not so much. I don't think it was nerves, but I know what you mean. He has been a little bit flat recently, and I think it's because there is possibly less emphasis on him to sort of go forward because we're not needing as many results now. We have been. I mean, I know we've just confirmed it last week, but for the last sort of 4 or 5 games, we've been near in safety. The playoffs ended when we lost all those games in a row, so there's a little bit of a shrug your shoulders about Sunderland at the minute, isn't it? I mean, we're still getting results and grinding results out, but there's not the emphasis to try and win games, and I think that's probably him realising that actually, yeah, I don't need to be as good. So, and I think there is a bit of it in the back of his head that, yeah, I'm probably going to move, and he doesn't want to get injured, maybe, doesn't want to put himself out there too much and get a bad injury. And I mean, to be fair, it's not what we want, but his professionalism should be 100% all of the time. And I would agree. I do think he hasn't played well, and you should be critical of him. But he's been so good for us this season. You don't want to criticise him too much because at times he's carried us, hasn't he? So, and the reason we aren't in a relegation battle is probably because of Jack Clarke being so good. So you could argue he's earned the move. But I do think he's had a little bit left in the tank in some games in the last three or four games I've watched him. He hasn't been getting on the ball as much, and when he has been getting on the ball, he hasn't been attacking the fullback, and I don't think there's been as much intensity to his game. So I would completely agree.
We'll definitely see in the next couple of games, the last 3 games, whether that's injury related and he improves over it, or if it is that. So we'll move off before we move off the game, sorry, Jack, man of the match.
I think it has to be Ballard, doesn't it? He got a load of stick, and he turned in a fantastic performance and really shut everybody up. And to give it a big celebration in front of the West Brom fans when we scored, there were other members that could have given it styles. Obviously, Echo, as we've touched on. 09 had a decent game, but I would have to say Ballard number 1. He took a lot of stick and he came out of it the right way, didn't he? He showed exactly what you need to do when you get stick, play well, and wind up the supporters even more.
Jacob, man of the match.
Yeah, well, I was torn between Styles and Ballard. Styles, I thought, had a very decent game, but yeah, Dan Ballard for me. Absolute warrior at centre half. He was, coping well in the first 45 minutes with Asante. Never gave him a sniff, and he ended up getting a red card for being sucked into the game plan, which I'm pretty sure Dodds said to the lads, listen, there's a few West Brom players who'll be starting today, in terms of some shithousery on the pitch, do what you can to wind them up a little bit, and it looked like it paid off, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's the first time, I think, for a while that we've been unanimous on the man of the match, so I agree with both of you there. Couldn't agree more. Right, moving on. There's been drama off the pitch, as usual, as there always is at the club. A few different points to touch on. The first one being probably the big news was the Hummel jackets. Now, I know they released a limited amount and they were sold out in no time, and people were having a nightmare to try and buy them. But the biggest shock for me was the fact that we walked onto the pitch wearing Hummel jackets when we're still under contract with Nike. What do you think of all this Hummel stuff, Jack, going on?
Well, I think our fans have wanted it for a long, long time, haven't we? I mean, I must admit, I don't really wear football tops anymore. When I was a little boy, I had a different football top on every day. But when I'm getting old, I don't really wear them as much. I wear them on this channel now, but I don't really wear them as much. So I'm not one that's like really desperate for a certain brand, but I do know a lot of Sunderland fans want Hummel, and a lot of people in the chat always mention it. We're getting the Hummel kits back, and it's going to be Hummel next year. So there was a lot of excitement when we announced it. When everybody says, "Oh, get in, it's going to be Hummel." The one thing I would say firstly is I just hope the kits next season are as good as everybody's expecting, because if they're not, there's going to be a hell of a lot of disappointed people out there. As for the jackets, I'm not really too bothered. The wore them. I wouldn't really bother us too much who we're under contract with. I just think, though, one criticism of the whole thing would be, only announcing a limited amount for now, because I think that they should have gauged public perception and realised that they were quite popular from all of the social media. I think they're okay, but a lot of people think they're really, really nice. So to only have put a certain amount on for now, I know they might put an amount on later, but yeah, it wasn't great. I think they could have given a little bit more scope for people to buy them, and maybe buy in bulk more, so more people could have one, rather than just say, oh, there's an hour and, first come, first serve type thing.
Yeah, Jacob, you're wearing a shirt that kind of attributes that. I assume that's an original one and not something you've battled at shops for. What do you think of all the stuff with the Hummel shirts that's going on at the moment?
My old man's top from that exact 91-92 season. So, yeah, carried out representing the retro tonight, mate. But yeah, I really do like this this new look that the club have reintroduced from those early 1990s days, the same from the same season where we got to the final against Liverpool. I thought the jackets looked superb, but in terms of the pricing, I think that's what were you saying, Jack, before we went on air? Was it 70 quid for one of them?
70, I think 70 or 75, I think, which I think, don't get us wrong, if you like them, then buy it. You could use it for all kinds of things, but I think that's a little bit steep, personally.
And there's some people, I don't know if you've seen, they're selling them online for like 200 quid as well.
Yes, Jacob, I literally did an eBay search just before we came on, and it's there. And you can see 21 bids at £147, 21 bids, and it's still got 19 hours to go.
Oh, wow.
So, can
I just say, though, if you're a Sunderland fan and you're doing that, shame on you, because I think it's disgraceful that you're trying to rip off other people. Now, some people say, well, if that's what people are willing to pay, then they're the stupid ones. But I think to buy something like that and that people are wanting it, and then, double the price within a week, I don't think you should be doing that, and I would find it disrespectful for any other Sunderland fans, so-called Sunderland fans, that are doing that to rip off other supporters. I'm sorry, but you can't be doing stuff like that, man. I mean, come on, if you wanted that much, buy it and keep it yourself, but don't put it online for a week later for double the price. I mean, it's just that's out of order for me.
I'd like to think it's not a fan and it's somebody that's seen, there's going to be a limited run of a certain thing, so I've gone and bought it just to sell it. So I'd like to think it's not a Sunderland fan doing that. Maybe that's a bit ideal, but what about the people buying it for that price, Jack? Do you think that's insane? If this is a limited run and it's testing the market, surely this is just going to be on general release by next season.
Well, that's what I thought. I mean, they've almost done it as like a sort of taster, haven't they, to sort of gauge how popular it's going to be. But they should have been able to say that on social media. Everybody's wanted Hummel kits. Everybody likes the 92 kit. To have a jacket in that model, not everybody, but a lot of people were going to like it. So they should have realised that and thought, hang on here, why don't we, get many, many more and satisfy more of our customers? And I heard, I don't know how true this was, but I heard it 10 o'clock on Monday. Was it Monday morning they went on sale, I want to say? But I heard there was a huge queue around the block at the outside of the club shop, I think. You know what I mean? So it's just, ridiculous, really, the levels that people go to as Sunderland supporters. But I just thought they should have realised how popular it would be a little bit earlier, and maybe if they were going to, put it on sale, then sell as many as they could, and not have people saying, oh, well, I can't buy it, and hoping that it goes on sale at a later date. I just thought they got that one a little bit wrong.
That could be Hummel that's dictated, we're going to give you X amount to see how it goes. So it might not be a club thing, that one. Jacob, would you be queuing around the block, or would you be... I know we had some people in our fan TV chat that were trying to get it online and were having the same issues where it just wasn't letting them check out and it was crashing because it was so busy.
Yeah, I would have just... even if they did sell out, it's not a disaster at the end. I don't get the need if you really want one right now. If you do want one, the price will go down. You can probably get them later on for a cheaper deal in a few months anyway. So, yeah, the need for it at this rate. I can understand for when the new kit gets released. For me, I think the indications Hummel were giving us, I think that could be around the corner very soon. However, I do have the prediction about... you've probably seen the photos of the two that were linked. One is a similar design to the one I've got on here, and the home one looks very nice, but I don't think that will be the final design. That I don't think Hummel will leak stuff like that too easy. I think there's
so many fan concepts.
They're selling those tops that were leaked. They're selling them now. I've seen pictures of people who've got their hands on the red and white one in particular, which I think
they're copies that people are picking up from overseas that are based off the original leak designs. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see, like you say, the final release and how much that matches up to that. Jack?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't think you can sometimes pay too much attention to what's going on, because even sometimes the ones that are sold are not actually the official ones if they've been abroad or wherever. They've got them from dodgy sites. It's that many sites going around these days that are offering, concept kits and kits that might be likely. It's hard. I mean, you can probably get, everybody knows the Hummel template, but nobody can sort of spot on what it's going to be. So yeah, it's difficult to say. I'll just mention a few comments from the chat. Casual Observer says, dare say the opposition we were coming up against are hardly Man City clones. Damien Jenkinson, he says, hello from Huddersfield. I think the lads have been brilliant this season with 4 different coaches. How are the lads? Stephen Clark says they were selling them on eBay for 240 quid. How many was your photo, Mike? 150?
147, but it had 21 hours to go, and that was bids. That's not just somebody asking a ridiculous price.
I mean, if to be fair, I'm criticising the people that are doing that for ripping people off, but I think if you're daft, stupid enough, if you want to call it that, to pay that, then that's probably your problem. Emma Hansen says, similar to what I says, let's hope they make enough tops, as they never do make enough. John Nesbitt says Mickey Mac's a proper bloke. He says this channel's staying on. His missus wants him to put Emmerdale on. So fair play, Mickey. Thanks for overruling Emmerdale on that one. John Nesbitt says, what the hell is going on with the manager situation? We might come on to that in the next few minutes. John, not much has happened, to be fair. Not much has happened since the last chat, but we might come on to it. And he also says it must be somebody in a job right now, otherwise they would have employed a one by now, don't you think? Well, I think the whole idea is to get to the end of the season, John. I think that's probably the first thing. Secondly, they want to wait for the right target. But he is right with what John's saying. Somebody that's available in the summer is much easier to get than somebody who's under contract now, particularly when there's only three games left.
Yeah, definitely. I do want to touch on 2 little other bits of news before, and we'll brief on the manager as well. So I don't know if you guys have seen this, but they're talking about the season card renewals and charging again for the physical cards for people that have not got the smart devices. Bit of possible discrimination against an older generation there, Jacob. What do you think of this going to charge them extra for having a physical season card?
I mean, I've tuned out on that front this week. I mean, the first time I've heard of it is from you, Mike. So thanks for mentioning it there. But yes, it feels like, there's not really been much change from how it had operated from last year, to be honest, in terms of where the club stood on it. Listen, for the elderly who can use a phone and digitally get into the ground, fair enough. But I can understand the frustration where, they're still, particularly if they're going to the match on their own and they haven't got people to help them or they haven't got a smartphone. But I think so. Was it that they're charging more prices for these?
If people want a physical card, they're going to charge them to produce it.
Will that be the same price from last year?
I'm not sure. I don't think there's actually been a price set or anything at the moment. But what annoys me with this whole situation is not so much discrimination the elderly. It's a season card used to be a thing. Like my dad used to have all his season cards in a Sunderland wallet, and they had printed on, there were pictures on, they had the stadium on, showed the season, and he kept them. It was a souvenir of that season, and they're trying to charge people and try to give them white plain cards this time. Jack, have you seen anything on this?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one. I mean, we certainly shouldn't charge the cost of a white card with somebody's name on it. I mean, what's that, pennies for a club of our size? Do you know what I mean? I think definitely shouldn't be charging people. They should obviously separate it. If you want that, then get in touch with the club and go to the ticket office and get them or something like that. I know what you mean, though, Mike. Because I'm old enough to remember the tickets when you used to have to rip the tickets off. You know what I mean? And you had the what's the word, wallet, the ticket wallet for that. So that was my first ones. I'm not really someone that keeps them as a souvenir, but I do take on board your point that some people are like that. They do like to collect things like that. I think as long as we can come to a compromise that makes sure that everybody can get into the ground, because I would hate to think that, somebody, elderly like 70 or 75-year-old is put off because they can't get in, or they have difficulties getting in, because we should be doing our utmost to try and keep fans coming to the stadium and not making things harder for them. So whatever's easiest, but we certainly shouldn't be charging people. That's wrong for me.
Yeah, I mean, we'll touch on it only because somebody mentioned it in the chat and you said we'll touch on it. I've not heard anything new on the manager front, Jacob. I don't know if you've heard anything new, apart from we're waiting to the end of the season, like Jack said earlier.
Yeah, I think we start to hear a little bit more till the end. I think there's a few reports. All I've heard this week is that Will's still looking to leave, or will definitely be leaving his club, Lons, at the end of the season and go into another club, regardless whether that's us. Who knows? But yeah, he's still in the running for the job as well. But I haven't heard any other potential names being linked, aside the ones that were already linked with the job.
Right. Jack, have you heard anything new? I mean, you just said then that,
No, well, nothing really. I think it's always going to be a talking point, and the longer we don't have one, the longer it's going to become a more pertinent talking point. But I think at this stage, it's one of those whereby the end of the season's coming. We've got 3 games to go. Dodds, you're not going to get a change between now and the end of the season. I just think that really, from my perspective, as we've spoken about before, we have to get somebody in as quickly as we can after the season finishes. I mean, it's only sort of 2.5 weeks away now, so there's no excuse afterwards because we've been waiting since February. So I would like to think that when they have the ideal target sorted, there's no faffing around and we're not waiting until June and halfway through June or July, and then, because I wouldn't like to think they use it as an excuse, you know what I mean? We couldn't get the signing in because our manager wasn't in early enough or something like that. I just want to chat because there's a few comments come in the meantime. So Leighton Mills says he'd rather see a decent team than a kit, and Paggard agrees. Well, hopefully we can have both next season. You know what I mean? I don't think they're mutually exclusive. We want a nice team, a nice kit and a good team. DJ Sizzler Watson. Macam Cabby says we're going in for a free from Leicester. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I haven't heard anything about that, so I'm not sure which player that would be, DJ Sizzler Watson. If you know which player it is, then you might help us out there. I might be able to give our opinion, but I haven't heard anything, and neither has Jacob by the sounds of things, so I don't know. Emma Hansen says she's foreman and hope they send them out rather than going down to queue again. Well, I think hopefully if they are wanting to send cards out, to send them out and not make people queue. Leighton Mills seeing Sims and Broadhead, not Ballard, banging them in has just added salt into the wounds. David Brown says there's no manager confirmed. It's because Dreyfus is winging it, and most credible managers would want to say in recruitment. Emma says it's not just elderly; it's disabled people that have trouble. That's a very good point by Emma. There might be disabled people that have trouble with that. Leighton Mills saying no to a cashless society. Stephen Clark says apparently Gus Poyet was talking to the owner about the manager. I'm not sure on that. I would always say never go back from a manager. Paggard says Will Still's been spotted in London. Leighton Mills says got more chance of kill Bill than Will Still. And we're just nearly to the bottom of the chat.
Jacob, you want in there?
In terms of the Leicester player that has been linked with us, with him being out of contract in the summer, I think the two, looking online now, I think the main two that we would be in with a shout of getting would be Dennis Pratt or Mark Albrighton on a 1 year deal based on the ages they're at.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think that covers a bit of the general news around the club, and we'll go on to previewing the next game, which is Millwall. They've won once in the last 11 games at the Stadium of Light. So we've got a great record against them. I mean, I know that's probably the curse of the commentator, then nobody likes to say it. I don't know if you saw Dodds' pre-match, Jack, but he talked as if we're going to go 5 at the back again. Like that's going to be the thing. So what do you think setting up for this one?
Listen,
it's a difficult one.
Jack, you can go first, mate. Go.
Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry. It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one because we've played quite well recently, but as I say, we've set up twice against teams that are likely to have more of the ball than us and away from home. So at home, I wouldn't want to go under that. Even though we played well, I'd want to try and go back to 4-2-3-1 and have a bit more of a go. But hey, if we win the game, I'm coming on here. I'm saying I was wrong again. You know what I mean? I hope I am, but I just think we should be attacking a little bit more and having a little bit more of a go. I mean, with the greatest of respect to them, Millwall aren't Leeds, you know what I mean? And we are at home, so we wanted to try and attack. And I want to see some goals at the stadium. I mean, we've had one goal, which when we were 4-0 or 5-0 down against Blackburn. I think we've had one home goal in the last 5 or 6 games. So we've got nothing to lose to take the game to Millwall. So that would be my thoughts.
Maybe the training staff are going to teach Bellingham where his feet are and how they can work first time. That might change it. Jacob, Millwall coming up, and by the sounds of Dodds's, did you watch his pre-match interview that was on?
No, I haven't had the chance to see it, but I'll get round to it at some point.
Well, he did mention that playing 5 at the back is working for them, and he said that in a positive light, as if that's going to be the plan going forward.
It's got its results, but I'd like to see, particularly say if it's 0-0 by half time, open the game up a little bit more. You know, throw some attacking lads earlier onto the pitch who can hurt teams at the back with more pace, the likes of Mundell. Was it Al-Shish never came on against West Brom? Maybe get him integrated back into the side again. Give Roberts some more minutes, although I do understand the likes of, I think they're slowly integrating the likes of Roberts and Elise back in, as they don't want them to pick up another injury going into the start of pre-season. So yeah, I can understand why Dodds will want to, in terms of the shape we had, in terms of how solid it was, keep the same system, but I would like to see him go for it just a tiny bit more. I think you can sort of keep the same system from the start, but I think it wouldn't surprise you if he makes at least one change to that.
Yeah. Jack, I know you wanted to be in there. I was going to ask you anyway. Do you think 5 at the back is the sensible option, considering Millwall beat Leicester 1-0 and then beat Cardiff 3-1 in their last 2 fixtures? That's 2 hard games to get a result from. Oh,
yeah, don't get me wrong, Mike. If he goes that way, I can completely understand his thinking, change your winning team and go with what works for you. And I understand that. And if it works, I mean, it's not what I would do personally, but if it works and we come out with a 1-0 or a 2-0 win, then I'm wrong. You know what I mean? He's done the right thing. But just for me, I just don't think it doesn't give the right impression for me from a Sunderland team at home against Millwall. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to Millwall, but they're not a top team. They're not somebody who we should be. And I just think with that formation, it sort of indicates that you're looking ultimately to stop the opposition and not play yourself. And I think against Millwall at home, we shouldn't be like that. We should be confident enough to take the game to Millwall. What I was going to say was there's a few mentioned the Leicester player that I was speaking about a couple of minutes ago, Armani Richards. I have checked, and that is his first name. So hopefully he's a stylish player if his name's there. If his name's Armani.
Armani and Styles on the pitch.
Armani Styles, there we go. I'll just come into chat. John Ruddock says, had a chat with Speakman. He's going nowhere. Jim Nesbitt. Oh, we've got both the Nesbitt brothers in the house, Jim and John. So there we go. John thinks it's going to be 4-4. I will come on to score lines in a minute. I think he's had a drink if he thinks it's going to be 4-4. DJ Sister Watson says Armani Richards. Yeah, excellent. Stephen Clark says Watmore and Honeyman might be playing against us. Well, that'll be probably curse of the ex-Sunderland player for them to. Then I think I heard the Millwall manager saying that he was pushing. Honeyman was pushing to be fit, wasn't he? I think he said that he was struggling for fitness and he was trying to push and be ready for Saturday. Yeah. John Ruddock says nothing at stake playing a striker, not Job. So he thinks that somebody else should be starting up front. Leighton Mills says he thinks it's criminal. You have to look back to 2010 to see a Sunderland team played at home with 2 up front. Stephen Clark says, good news, Mike. For Mike, Bradley Dack's contract is not getting I think he means not getting extended and finished in June. So I think we all knew that, but Mike will be cheering about that. And DJ says, Watson, good thing if the strikers should spend the pre-season in Amsterdam and get used to scoring. Leighton Mills, why we're so negative at home? And L12 says Millwall on a good run. I don't know. Mike seems to think they haven't won in a while, but I think they've won.
The one
beat
last.
Cardiff.
They've won the last two. It was the
Leicester.
record against us that they've not.
Right, apologies.
Great,
right,
but yeah, they beat Leicester 1-0, like I say, and they beat Cardiff 3-1. So, and that's the last two games that they've had. Not going too far back into that, but that is, I mean, we're cursed against Welsh teams anyway, and obviously Leicester are a top team. So going into this game, Jacob, obviously the chance of Honeyman being on the pitch potentially, and Watmore, two Sunderland players there. Are you nervous for this one? Do you think we've got a good chance on this one?
Yeah, of course. Considering, yeah, of course. Listen, if we can pick up clean sheets against sides near the top against West Brom and Leeds, then yeah, of course you're in with a shout of doing some sort of damage to a side that's in and around us. But then again, look at the Blackburn performance. No one predicted that. But yeah, I like to see some of the players just, take more risks. It's that stage of the season. We've confirmed our safety. We're not going to go down. So yeah, just play with a little bit more intensity. And it's this stage of the season where if you are safe, managers like to remind players you're playing for your futures, you're playing for new contracts if you want to be here next season, so put a decent shift in, and I think that's what I hope Dodsey will be telling the players going into Saturday's game.
Jack, should we play some real strikers in this one?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Burstow does get a game. Not sure what's happened to Rushan. Rushan looks like he's completely off the radar, so to speak. So yeah, it will be interesting to see. I mean, me personally, I think Bellingham's done okay, but I completely understand why you might not want to play him. You know what you're going to get from Bellingham. Does he need a rest? Does he deserve a rest? And maybe try somebody else up front. So yeah, I personally wouldn't, but I'd understand if Dodds did mix it up a little bit.
Would you like to see any changes, Jacob, for this one, for lineups? Would you like to see Mundle start maybe?
Yeah, Mundle, potential, although it's unlikely considering he didn't feature at all against West Brom. I think the only change he could potentially do is maybe rest Job, start Clark as the main striker and bring in Barr, because I don't think he'll want to give Robert starts at this moment in time because he'll want him ready for pre-season.
Yeah. Jack, are you thinking it's going to be the same lineup, or would you like to see some more changes?
I'd say maybe make a couple of changes. I wouldn't be against starting Mundle, like Jacob says. I think we have seen little bits from him where he's been decent in spells, but it'd be nice to see somebody like him from the start. Who do you drop from him? That's the only thing. I mean, I wouldn't be against dropping Jack Clark because I think really, albeit he's our best player, I don't think he's done much in recent weeks. So do you go straight top for them? I would definitely see if we can get Chris Rigg involved again. I think that the key one is the formation, because the formation dictates everything, doesn't it? If he's going 5 at the back, I think it'll be probably the same. But I think if he changes the formation, then there'll be a couple of new lads come in. It's a bit difficult what you do with the extra centre back. Well, if you're going 4 at the back, because where do you lose your defender? Because they've all actually done okay. And Pembele has been better recently, hasn't he? So it's going to be a bit of a difficult one because you want to give people minutes. But yeah, it's strange.
Yeah, I'm going to go for 3-0 on this one to the lads, only because I'm doing the commentary again and I'd like an exciting game. Jacob, what's your score prediction for this one?
It'll be tight again. I can see it being a 1-0 Sunderland win. Tight game, we'll nick it later on.
Yeah. Jack, your prediction was slightly off last week.
Yeah.
So what are we going for this week? And let's get your prediction and let me know if there's anyone in the comments who give us a prediction.
Well, I'm glad it was off though, Mike. I mean, I sometimes predict that we're going to lose the game, but I always want to be wrong with my prediction. So I was pleased I was wrong with my prediction. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to be positive with this one. I think we're due. We're long overdue a home win, aren't we? Yeah, and I think we're going to get it against Millwall. Hopefully, if we get an early goal, we can. I mean, we should be looking to try and take the game. So I'm going to go 2-0. Sunderland to win 2-0. I think a goal in each half. I think if Mundle starts, he might get on the score sheet. I fancy him to get one. So there's a prediction. I'll just go back to the chat, Mike. There's a few more comments come in. John Nesbitt says, I'm teetotal, Jack. I'm just hoping for the end of season entertainment. Well, sorry for that, John. It's just with wild predictions when we're being drawn 0-0 and nicking games 1-1 nicking games 1-0. Sorry, when you said 4-4, I thought he might have started early on a Thursday at 7 o'clock. So sorry about that, John. I hope there's entertainment as well. I said earlier, we're not scoring enough goals at home. I would like to see a few goals if we can. Ryan McCormack says he thinks we'll beat them. John Nesbitt says they're a bottom club, so what has happened all season long? Exactly. Well, I don't think they're right near the bottom, but they are close to the bottom. Leighton Mills, you think Clark, Ballard, Neil and Patterson will be sold at the end of the season? I don't think we've probably got enough time to touch on it, but I think at least one of those probably likely to be Clark. Ryan McCormack says it'll be 2-1 to Sunderland. Paul Armstrong agrees. Casual Observer says he's going for another excellent 0-0 draw. I think Casual Observer's labouring the point tonight, isn't he? That he thinks we're a little bit negative recently and a little bit boring, shall we say? Steve Davis, is it Steve Davis? Snooker Loopy Steve Davis, maybe. Snooker Loopy Steve Davis. That's going to be his new name from now on if he ever comments again. He's with Jacob. He thinks it's going to be 1-0 to the lads. And John Nesbitt says, I'm a good lad. Good lad, Jack. Well, you're a good lad as well, John. 6-0 to the lads, Leighton Mills says. Wow. Crazy.
Wow. That's a prediction. I'd like to do a commentary on that one if we do win 6-0. That would be pretty awesome. I'll touch very quickly. I know we've got to go, but on the comments, somebody mentioned the pre-season. I know they were joking about Amsterdam, but I think I saw that it's going to be Italy. Did anybody see that? It was one of those things that was on my Twitter just before it decides to refresh itself for no reason, then gets lost in the abyss. But I saw a poster for pre-season in Italy. Have you seen anything for that, Jacob?
No, not so far, mate. I mean, no. Mike is the man to update us on that.
Right. Okay. Well, what do you think, Jack? Have you seen anything?
I thought we'd already. Have we not already announced a little bit of it too? Are we not? Are we not? Did I imagine that?
Alicante.
Alicante. Yeah, I thought that was the.
Unless there's another one I haven't heard about.
Oh well, Jim Nesbitt's just comment. One half of the Nesbitt brothers. He says it's the under-21s that are going.
Oh, right.
I don't know. If I don't know if that is the case, but that would probably make sense. L12 Bong saying AS Roma, so it might be that the development squad are going over to Italy.
I'll have to try and time my Italian holiday that I'm doing this year with it. So hopefully,
perfect excuse, Mike. I was going to say with how tight, stringently Speakman runs Sunderland, I wouldn't have thought we would have two separate European pre-seasons. I mean, happy days for the supporters, but I don't think so. I don't think so.
Like I say, it was just one of those things, you know, when it appears on your feed and then disappears instantly, and I was like, "Where's that gone?"
Yeah, well, I mean, like you say, Jim Nesbitt might have hit the nail on the head. It might be the under-21s. Steve Davis has commented back. He says, "No, he's pat at snooker. He's not bad at pool, though." All right, fair enough. I thought it was Snooker Loopy Steve Davis, but that's what he's going to be called from now on. So anytime I read out a comment, if he keeps coming on, he's going to be Snooker Loopy Steve Davis. So I've just decided that. There we go.
I mean, that's a mouthful. You've given yourself a challenge there to do that every time. I think that's all we've got time for, lads. It's been great chatting with you. We could have probably gone well into transfers and stuff like that, but that'll be definitely for another show. Jacob, would you like to say your goodbyes to the peoples?
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy the match on Saturday, guys. And as I always say, keep the faith, Sun until we die.
Jack?
Yeah, I don't know how many. Do we know how many likes we were on, Mike? By the way, we haven't done that. We're not. No
idea.
Give it a refresh now.
In the last couple of minutes, try and how many, Jacob?
48 at the minute. That could rise.
That's not great. See if you can drop us a like before we finish. But firstly, thank you. As I always say, we would just be three lads talking ourselves if we didn't have people watching and commenting. So you contribute to the show. So thanks for getting involved. Hopefully we'll get the win on Saturday. A long overdue home win. And I'll see everybody later, lads and lasses.
Yep, and thank you from me. I'll just like to mention our stream sponsor, Retro Hub, this week, and you could get Jacob's shirt as a mouse mat from there, which is awesome that they do. And they've also got the 1992 yellow strip as a mouse mat, which is on order for myself, so that's great. But go and check Retro Hub out. All the links are in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.